Yes, Krishna, the recording has started. You can you can take it over.
Hello all. Firstly, thanks for joining the session. We'll start quickly about my introduction. Myself, Al Mudhukrishna. I'm working as an RPA developer for 3 years in Innovize Global Technology. So in this session, we're going to discuss about what is UiPath Action Center and how do we use that, and a sample demo. So at the end of the session, you will be able to know what is Action Center, how it can improve a process which we didn't pick for an automation due to the fact that human intervention is required. Which package will be used to create tasks, design our own form where human can validate. If there are any files like images or PDF, how to store them in Orchestrator using storage buckets, and how to filter only required action items in the using the action catalog, and a quick demo. I'll be showing you a use case. I'll be discussing about a use case, and then we'll see how we develop that in UiPath. Firstly, what is Action Center? Action Center is an easy to use platform where business users can leverage powerful business automation projects in their work without any knowledge about programming or software development. So assume you have a process. You have a process like invoice processing. So if in case if there is a need, like after bot scraped the data from invoice, and then the bot is not, maybe we use an OCR to scrape, and then the final output we are not sure like if it is correctly scraped or not. So in that case, we previously we might not take that up to the automate. So we might reject that process. So just assume before automation, it is been done by a human. He starts the process, he takes the invoice, and then he checks he scrapes all the information manually, and then he puts that into an Excel file, and then whether an Excel file or any other tool, like it can be a web application or it can be SAP, the output has been put into that SAP, and then it has been submitted. So that was the process. Assume it as a use case, and then before automation, it is been done by human, and now partially automated before we don't have Action Center. So at that time, so firstly, human will manually start the process. Task 1 will be carried out. Task 2 will be the attended bot, which is been doing. And if there are any validations required, then the process will stop, and then he enters he provides all the information. He validates manually by opening the invoice, and then he checks that script data. And if it is not matching, he manually update that. After updating, he'll place it again in the other shared drive folder, and then he will start the next task. So like that, again, if there is a process experiment, like that, it goes on. So that's what the partial automation meant. And now this is where Action Center comes into picture. So now we have long-running business workflows where to maximize the potential, where humans can take over, human validations will be taken over. I mean, if the bot stuck in some place, the human will enter, and then he will enter. We can approve, he can validate. If there are any exceptions that he can handle, he'll handle that, and then the process after handling the task will be submitted back, and then the robot will continue. The robot will continue working on after the required information is being got to the robot. So that was end-to-end automation. Like in partial automation, human still needs to start the process. And now using the this is where Action Center comes into picture. Like now we have Action Center where the bot will stop wherever he needs a validation or an approval, and human can pitch in and then give required information to the bot, and then it will continue. So that's when we use Action Center. Now, what are actions? So the previous concept, at the end, we call it as like human in the loop concept, end-to-end automation with human in the loop. So next, what are actions? So whenever the bot requires human information, so that action is that task will be captured as an action. So when bot requires some information, it directly throws a task into Action Center, and then it can be assigned to anyone, or it can be assigned to ourselves, and then human can do the validation. And while human doing, the robot will still be working with remaining tasks. Right? The robot will go to suspend state, and then that license will be used to run other processes. So the robot will never be idle. That's the best part of this. And then once the required input is being provided, it has been received by robot, it will continue. So there are 3 stages in Action Center. First one, unassigned action status, completed and pending. So we'll see them in practical in demo session. So firstly, unassigned status. Once an action is generated for a human user, it will be displayed in actions page as unassigned status. Firstly, it will come to unassigned status. Now there you can see like it will be like assigned to self or assigned to someone else. There you can allocate the process, allocate the task, and then that will be assigned to if you assign it to yourself, it comes to completed action status. So in completed, no, in pending action status, you'll get that in pending action status. So you go to pending page, and then you do the manual validation. You check everything is fine or not. If it is like a simple approval validation, you approve or you disapprove that, you reject that. If it is a validation, you check the PDF, manually check the PDF, and then click on approve. And then the robot will come back again and it continues the remaining tasks. So there are action types as well. So firstly, the form tasks, document understanding tasks, and then external tasks. Form tasks are nothing but the ones which we are using now. So sometimes, as I already discussed, sometimes robot might require data that only human users process. So this data can be added through the use of input forms. So for that, we have form designer as well, which we'll be seeing in the practical demo. So the form templates are also can be created by ourselves, RPA developers. So those are the form tasks, document understanding tasks. This type of actions will present the human with information that the robot has been able to identify in the documents using that OCR engines. So after it scrapes by, there are 2 steps in document understanding, like classification and validation. So in both of the steps, Action Center is being used. It is already used in that. So for that, we use, for that type of DU tasks, we also use Action Center. So now the final task type is external. So in more complex automation scenarios, we as an RPA developer can configure the way tasks that are created in Action Center by trying the automated process. Like we can use external tools as CRMs or any reporting or management tools. So we can connect UiPath to external tools. And then if the task has to be assigned in that external tool, that can also be possible. So that's the 3 ways of action types. Now we'll see all these tasks. How to design how to design a form, input form, and how to store a PDF into storage buckets in demo session. And also we'll discuss about the status, robot statuses, like what is suspend state and what will the bot do in suspend state, and how like what are the other states when the bot comes back to running. All those will be discussed. Next, packages and activities. So here we use 2 packages, persistent activities and then form library. Persistent activity package contains the main activities, like to create a task or to wait for resume. So once the task is been created, so for the next, in order to go, the robot has to go to suspend state, right? So for that we need wait for resume activity. So all those activities will be under persistent activities. And the other package we need, form library. This form library is used to create form tasks. So the form, we can use inside the create task itself, there will be a form designer. So in order to create your own form, we can, in order to design and build forms at design time, and that will be displayed at the runtime as well. So for that, to create forms, we need form library. And few activities which we are going to work on are create form task, and then wait for form task and resume. And then one more activity is also there, storage buckets, upload to storage buckets. So that will also be discussed in the demo session. So form designer. Also, one thing to highlight, the Action Center will be supported for UiPath Studio or Robot versions with 2019.10 and plus. And then the persistence package will also be available. The available version we have is 1.1.7, and then the orchestrator for which Action Center will be available will be 2021.10.0 plus. After that, now form designer. So as an RP developer, we use Form Designer to build form interfaces that are required in an attended or unattended automation. So we create our own forms. We design using there will be components which are available. There will be a set of components to make user display field or a text field that user can enter, or approve or reject those kind of radio buttons. So all those components will be available inside the Form Designer. So we can make use of those components and then we can create our own. So these are the types we have. I mean, these are the components we have, the form components. How do we customize the form components and managing form components and managing the entire forms. So these also will be discussed in the demo session. And finally, the storage buckets. So in our use case will be invoice processing. So the bot has to scrape, bot has to get all the files in a particular folder. So in that particular folder, we'll have invoices, and then each invoice has to be opened, and then it has to be scraped completely, and then we extract our required information from that entire scraped data, and then that will be. So for now, I'm just using that to post back to Action Center. So in actual use case, you can then use that scraped data to fill a form, fill an Excel file, or fill an SAP and then submit. So that will be our use case. So for that use case, it is always required that once the scraped data has been pushed back to Action Center, user have to see, like user have to compare which invoice data it is. So for that, we have to place an invoice side by, and then user will directly compare these fields in the from the PDF, and then he directly validates there and then click on validate. Or if there are any changes, if since it is an OCR, there is a chances like wrong information might be scraped. So that's a risk, right? So to overcome that risk, the human can validate that, and then he can change that and then click on submit. And then that information will be used to enter in the SAP. So that's the reason we use storage buckets. Storage buckets are nothing but it can it is used to. These are the storage locations where RPA developers can use or create, use or leverage that technology like the storage buckets to place any PDF file or any image file in order to use that in a machine learning models, or it can be like for now, for instance of Action Center, we can use that to show the PDF to the user. So that's the use of storage buckets. Now we'll get to the demo. As I already discussed about the use case. So here we'll have all the invoices for the bot. So the bot has to open each invoice and then scrape all the data, and then from all the data, it has to extract only few fields. I'll open the invoice. So for example, here we might have to need this address, and then the phone number and the website, invoice number, date, customer ID. So these
Krishna,
are the, yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. You could see only the PPT screen.
Oh, okay, sorry. I'll share again. 1 second.
Yes,
now visible now?
Yeah, it is fine.
Thank you. So yeah, so some of the information which we need, like it would be address, and then the phone number, fax. It can be any of the information that can be scripted. So date, invoice. So the bot has to scrape all the information, and it has to get back to the Action Center. It has to showcase there, and then user can enter, and then he can assign to himself or assign to someone else, and the user will validate that. I'll just open the orchestrator. Okay. So firstly, we have to enable. Firstly, you might have not you may not see the actions page here, actions icon here. So for that, you have to go to admin tab. Tenants page, and then click on these 3 dots, and then tenant settings. Here you can just check the option of actions. So once you check that and click on save, it will be displayed over here. Now let's go to the actions. This will be the action center. As I discussed about the action statuses in the PPT. So these are the action statuses: pending, unassigned, completed. So once the action has been created, it goes to unassigned. It looks at something like this, and then you can assign to yourself. It will be assigned to yourself, or you can assign to someone else. So once you assign it to yourself, it comes to pending, and then here you compare the information that has been scraped and then with the actual invoice, and then you click on submit, and then that will go to completed. So now we'll look into the process. So I've already deployed the process. So for again, one more concept we discussed, storage buckets. So for that, we go to orchestrator, to our desired folder, and then the storage buckets. And here you can add a storage bucket. So for that, you just click on add storage bucket and then create new storage bucket. And then you can enter your name and then click on add. That will be created here. So those are storage buckets and the action statuses. Now we'll get back to the robot. We discussed about the use case. Now we start developing that use case. So firstly, we have to install the packages that are required to interact with the action center. We go to manage packages. And the first package we have to install will be persistent activities. Let's search for persistent. I've already installed that, so you can see that in project dependencies. So this should be the one. Just click on install, and then the other package we need will be form activity library. So you can also search that in all packages, and then you can install that. So those are the packages we need. And here the setting which we have to enable to support to make the robot usage of the persistency. I mean, you have to enable the persistence to have creating the form task, and then it waits for the task to resume, right? So for all that, we have to go to project settings, go to project and then project settings. And then here we have to enable this, we have to toggle this option of supporting the persistence. Just enable it and then click on OK. That will enable the persistence. So these are the settings you have to do. You have to install the packages. You have to toggle the persistence. And now first we have to get all the files from the input folder. For that, I used an assign activity. I've taken PDF path array variable. That will be string array. This one, string array. And then I've used the VB.NET code to get all the files which have the extension as PDF. It can, so we use directory.get files. We mention the path, and then the name can be anything. The file name can be anything, but it has to end with .pdf. So this one will get all the PDFs which we have. As of now, we have only one. So that will be assigned to the PDF path array. This just ignore this. This is to just continue. Like once the one PDF has been scraped, if we attach that the float back to floatation, it will check if the I is less than the total count. Until that, it will perform. The loop will happen. So now we extract the PDF. So I've used the PDF activities as well to read the PDF text. So this will completely read the PDF, and then the entire information will be scraped into extract text. So in array, so after that, I'm splitting all the lines based on the new line, and I'm assigning that to array text. So that happens here. I'm splitting based on the new line. And also the empty entries will also be removed here. So this is to check, like there might be different different names in the invoice. So for example, there will be for now I'm scraping Teflon glass. For this company, this company invoices will only be scraped for now. So in other, you might have like this name can be changed to something else, and then these fields will be changed for those type of invoices. So there you have to use your custom check to decide like which type of invoice it is, and then scrape accordingly. So for that, in the first line, the bot will check if it is Typeland Glice AJ or not. If it is that, then do the job. If not, this is like for the other case. So for now, you can ignore this. Since our type is Typeland glass, we go to this sequence. So firstly, I'm scraping the address. So inside the array text, the second line will be the address, and then the next line, and then the starting thing will be the city. So that's what happening here. Takes the first, it splits with comma, and then it takes the first string, that is city. Similarly, same goes to the phone number as well. In the next line, third line, fifth line, array starts with 0. So fifth line, from the phone, it splits with the colon, and then it gets the phone number from there. Similarly, these are the text manipulating operations for getting the information. So it scraped all the information. So these are the information which we are required: vendor, invoice number, phone number, city, and address. So all the information will be assigned to these variables. Now we scraped the entire PDF, and then we extracted the required information from that scraped data. So now the extract information has to be sent to Action Center as a task, and then human intervention required here to just validate that with a PDF. So for that, firstly we'll be uploading the file to the storage buckets. So I've used upload storage file activity. So we have to mention the path, and then we have to mention the name, the complete name, and then the bucket name. So if you see, this will be my bucket name. So I mentioned that, I mentioned the bucket name, and this will upload the document to this storage bucket. One more important thing, you have to give the full name. So only then it will be used efficiently after that. I mean, once you have that, if you keep the full name, it will consider that as a PDF, and then that can be linked to your form task. So we uploaded that, we uploaded the file first. And now create form task. Firstly, we mentioned the task title, which would be this. It will be this, the title. That can also be changed, validation required. And the task priority. So the task priority is also important. Like once you have many actions, many assigned actions, once you assign to the respective people, so they will get the actions based on the priority. So the higher priority will be first, and then the lower priority goes down. So for that we use, for now, we keep everything as a medium. And then action catalog. So action catalog will be also used in the to handle more number of actions at the same time. So for example, if you have, so for now we have only these many actions. So if you have multiple processes triggering the actions, so then if you want to filter only particular actions for a particular process, so you create an action catalog. I've already created the action catalog with name cat1, like that. So you can directly go to action catalog here, and then you can search for the catalog which you have, and then you can select that. For now, there are no. I've completed all the actions which for the process which I working on. So everything is being completed. So only those action items will be shown here. So that's the use of action catalog. So I've mentioned the name as well for task catalog, and now the form part. So how do we show the form to the user? We open the form designer. So as we discussed in the PPT, in the presentation, the form, there are multiple components inside the form. So firstly, the form components. So all these are form components, like basic components and the advanced to have an HTML element. All these are form components. And next, customizing the form components. Once you click on the settings of particular component, you can customize them. You can label them. You can give the position. You can give a placeholder, a description. Also, if you have to assign an argument, you can assign the property name, and that variable will be assigned to that. So it displays invoice storage and then the value here. So to manage that, we these are the customizing. This is called the customizing of form components. And the next one, managing forms. So these options are used to manage the forms. You can save them. You can save it as a template, and you can clear form, and then you can click to preview the form which you designed. You can just click on preview, and then it will show how it will be displayed in Action Center. That's about the form designer. So for now, we scraped this information. Like firstly, we paste the PDF side by. So for that, I'm using invoice PDF storage. And for that, we have to click on edit. Then I've gave the name. So important part is to add the HTML element. I've added the PDF storage of the property name. One second. So let's discuss about these points. I'll come back to this one later. So for vendor, we have to assign the argument the variable which we assigned, which is scraped. So we click on edit, and then we give that name here under field key. So we directly can. For now, I've made that as a note argument, because once the vendor has been placed in the actions here in the form, so user might assign to himself, and then he can edit. If there is a mistake, he will edit, and then he click on submit. So for that information will be, that has to come back again, and then there has to be assigned to the variable again, and then that information will be stored finally. So that's the reason we made it as a input argument. So we give the value, user might update it, user might not update it as well. In both the cases, the updated value will be get back to the variable. So we'll get back the updated variable as well. That's the reason I'm giving that. And then invoice number, same. This will also be an IO argument, field key, and then we give the invoice number. Same goes to the remaining variables that we created. Okay. Same goes to sub address, and once the all information is being shown and then validated, user will click on the submit button. So once the submit button has been created, it will get back to a completed status, and then this information will be assigned to a queue or however we need. Close the form designer. So once we have this, we need a task object. So once the form task has been created, the bot has to go to the suspend state, right? So for that, the task object has been created, and then we use that task object for the next tasks. So we assign. So now the wait for form task activity has been used. So this will wait until the task has been submitted in the action center page. So for that, we give action task object, and we get a task action and then task object. Task action is nothing but if you have approve or reject, you can get that action, whether user clicked on approve or whether he clicked on reject. So that's the reason we have task action here. And the task object will be the latest information. So once the user checks that and then validates and then updates the form field values, right? So once it is updated, we need that updated data back. So for that, we get the task object, we assign same, we give the input the task object, and then we get back again the task object, and that data will contain the updated information. So that also will show. Now we'll run the process. So now I've kept a breakpoint here. So now the information has been scraped. If we see here, address is being scraped, city is also being scraped, phone number, invoice number. So now this information will be assigned to the task. So you can continue. So yeah, so the task has been created with this ID, and then once the task will be created, the wait for form task activity will make the bot go to suspend until this object is being filled successfully in the action center. Now if you see the robot is in suspended state. Here it is like that, but in the once you publish the bot, the robot status will automatically change to suspend, and then the robot will be idle there. So it can be used, that same robot can be used to run the other process. Now let's see the task. Let's refresh it. So a few seconds ago, this will be our task which is being created now. So we got all the information and we have the invoice as well in the side. So now the user will directly just validate the information. So for example, here bank account, and then the bank account number will be here. And then the invoice number, it is here, 85088. You can also download that. You can make that in the form designer. You can have your own design for the form. And the phone number, this is the phone number, and city Leipzig, and address as 123 Bastor Street. And so firstly we have to assign it to self or to someone else. I'm assigning it to myself. This is the one which has been assigned. Now I'll remove the bank account from here with the vendor number. And remaining information is everything is fine. So I'll click on submit. So once I click on submit, this will we have to click manually resume, but from the orchestrator, the bot will continue by itself. I'll show that as well. Clicking on submit. Now that goes to completed states. Status. And now if I click on resume, so initially the vendor name was bank account and then colon and then number. So now we change that. Now we get that latest information in the task object. I've printed that. We'll see the output. Now it started again, and then it got the latest information. Now if you see IO vendor, it doesn't have the bank account colon. So yeah, that's how Action Center works. Now we'll see from the orchestrator. I've published this bot already. Water robots process, and this will be my bot, Action Center MV1. I'm just starting the bot, selecting the robot and clicking on start. Go to jobs pane, and then we'll see. So now it got the single invoice, it processed it, and then the status has been moved to suspend. Now let's see the actions. Send. So now you can filter with the name, right? Action catalog. You can use that action catalog, and then check that. Now we'll get only those actions which for that action catalog. I've selected that, and then after as I told already, we have to assign it to self or assign it to someone else. I'm clicking on assign to self. It's been assigned to myself, and I have a pending item a minute ago. As I did earlier, I just remove the bank account, and let's see the status now. So currently the robot status is suspended. So if you see the robot, robot's pane, the robot is active. So it can be used to other processes. You can watch that. I'll just submit the action, and then this goes to running again. I've changed that, and then I'm clicking on submit. Complete, and you see it backs to running, and the job is being completed. Now you can check the completed bucket, and then here you can see the PDF file is been uploaded here, and then the information is being present here. So yeah, That's about the Action Center. It's time to have a Q&A. Any questions?
Hey, what's the difference between a task action and a catalog? I don't understand, they're like similar to.
A task action will be the action which has been robot has been created to get the information from human, and task catalog will be a filter type. So you can create task catalogs. So this if you have multiple processes, you create multiple action catalogs, and then you can give the name while creating the task. So if I've created cat1 PDF extraction, and then this task will be stored in this catalog. So like that, if you have different process, you mention those names in catalog while creating the task, and then that will go to that particular catalog. And once if you have to filter only a single type, then you go to filter and then catalog. That's all. So these are the assume it as folders. Folders that actions will be created, actions will be moved on. So once you give the folder name, only those process related action items will be displayed. That's the use of action catalog. And then the task will be the action which is being created by robot. Did I answer the question?
Yes, thanks.
Hello. Yeah, how that PDF is coming over there?
We use storage buckets. So first, so we create a storage bucket, and then we have to use activity called upload storage file, and then we have to give these details like the file name and then full path and then the name, and then while creating the form task, you open the form designer and you have to drag a HTML element there. For this, let's take one more element. Go to advanced, and then HTML element has to be dragged. This is the field, but for that we need a HTML element. So here we have to write the tag, embed tag. It looks like this. Data equal to, and then here it goes your storage location, for example. Then goes the embed tag. Once you click on save, it will be so that this uploaded file name will be assigned to that HTML element, and that will be displayed here.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
So if we have multi-level approval, for example, say one report I have and I want to send to the manager, after the manager approves, it should be gone to the delivery manager. So that type of multi-approval we can do using form task, right?
Multi-approvals.
Multi-level approvals, you can say.
So once you assign it to yourself, that action item will go to completed. So the task will be completed for that. And then you might, yeah, that can also be possible. Like once it is get completed, so after that, this information can be added to one queue, and then other bot can scrape that, and then it can create another task item. So that can be assigned to the manager. So he can validate, and then he can complete. Yeah, that can also be possible. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions?
Hey, what's the difference in doing it from the actions in orchestrator and then going into the orchestrator and doing it? So isn't it the same thing?
I didn't get. Can you elaborate your question?
So in the orchestrator,
yeah.
So right now we are completing it or submitting it from the actions tab, right?
Yes, yes.
But while you also shown at the last that we can go inside orchestrator and even approve it from there, right? inside, as in go to orchestrator and then.
Yeah, we can always approve or we can add the data from actions page itself. We can't update anywhere else. We have to update. So once you assign it to yourself, it will goes to pending, and then here you update the information and then click on submit. That goes to completed. So all action items will be managed here itself. There is no other place.
But then every time SME will have to go and assign it to themselves.
Yeah, yes. You
What
can
will
there. No. There are other activities as well, from which you can directly make the assignment as well. I think it is assign task. Yeah, assign tasks. Here you can mention the mail ID. You can give the user assignments, and then it will directly assign to those users which are given here.
Okay. And similar type of it also shows us in our folder, right? The modern folder.
Yeah, it will be shown.
Okay.
So here we can assign one user at a time, right? Using
Here,
the
yeah.
assign.
Yes, you can assign to one user. I can assign to ourselves or can assign to someone.
We cannot assign multiple users.
I think no.
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly not sure. I'll get back to you. You can
Yeah.
ping your user ID. I'll get back to you from LinkedIn.
Okay.
So, any other questions?
Guys, if you don't have any other questions, we can go for the another wrap up. Please feel free to ask any questions if anything you have in mind.
Yeah, just one last question more.
Yeah.
So right now the SMEs will be approving or rejecting the request, right, from the actions. But
Yes.
is it possible, let's say we are sending an invoice for $1,000. Now SME wants that, if we reduce the price, I might be able to approve. So can the SMEs edit the data from action catalog or no?
Yes, he can. So I'll show you that. So once you create the task, we have the task object. So this will be the initial data. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
That will be the initial data. So once the task has been assigned, the task will be created here. Once it has been assigned, you can have that here, and here they can edit the task. I've edited the bank account number, right? So I can remove that. So similarly, he can edit the number. So if the dollar value increased or decreased, the script information is not matching. So you can add that, you can add any number, and then click on submit. And the wait for form task and resume will get that updated task object, and that will be used in further process.
Okay. So the licensing model for this is the same included in the orchestrator server, or how is it? I did not get that. Will SMEs will also have a license, or how? What do we need to give access to the orchestrator to particular SMEs?
We might only give actions access. So we can just give actions access from the. Admin can give only access to those SMEs, and then they can see only actions page. So they can just approve or disapprove and click on continue. So remaining they can't see. They can't see orchestrator or all those things.
So is there any license required or any licensing model for the SMEs that will be registering to the orchestrator, or no? Just normal users.
Licensing particularly about Action Center, I'm not exactly sure. I'll get back to you.
Krishna, I can comment on that. The thing, the Action Center itself is like enterprise model only. So if your organization or enterprise is opted for that, so there will be eligible count of users that you will be able to add. So if it is applicable, you can reach out your admin or whomsoever the contact that they are able to provide you the access, then they can able to guide you over there.
Okay, so but this is under a part of the regular license that I have for orchestrator server.
Yeah, in order to enable it, your cloud admin itself, he should enable you the Action Center tab for you. So in that way, you will be able to access. Like Krishna showed in the start of the session. So in
Okay.
Krishna, Syed dropped off.
I think he might have other calls or something.
Guys, this session is recorded and will be available for your future reference as well. You can check in the event page, and for anything that you might need to revert back, and you can also reach me as well in case of any other queries that you have in mind. Unless you have any other questions, we can just wrap up this session. Any other thoughts?
I've also pinged my LinkedIn profile here. You can, if you have any further questions, you can directly ping me there in the meeting.
Thanks, Siddha. Thanks for your participation.